Is this some kind of joke? Those sharp words, dripping with the arrogance of youth, sliced through the sticky afternoon air. Kyle Kramer, a lead technician at just 26, booted the landing skid of a silent helicopter with a frustrated kick. The hollow thud against the drab green hull was less than satisfying. This machine, a relic of the past, sat defiantly on the sweltering runway of Fort Holton, its rotor blades hanging limp in the heat like droopy leaves. Surrounding it were a dozen technicians, arms crossed, faces flushed with a complex mix of embarrassment and irritation. Their laptops, brandishing diagnostic software, displayed screens brimming with hopeful green checks, all proclaiming the same falsehood: everything was operating perfectly. Yet, here was the UH-1 Huey, or Freedom's Bell as it was lovingly nicknamed, stubbornly refusing to spring to life. Not far from this scene, an old man stood alone, seemingly detached from the flurry of activity. His thin frame, crowned with a halo of white hair, spoke of a lifetime under the relentless sun and wind. Clad in worn denim and a faded olive jacket, he watched in silence, his gaze focused not on the bustling group, but on the helicopter itself. It was as if he were attuned to secrets it withheld from all others. Lieutenant Roberts, tasked with overseeing this growing debacle, approached the elder man. His jaw clenched, his stride radiating the weighty authority of an officer fresh from training school. "May I help you, sir?" he queried, the formal "sir" stripped of genuine respect. "This is a secure area." The old man, whose eyes shone a pale, unwavering blue, shifted his focus from the dormant helicopter to the lieutenant. His gaze was steady, probing in a way that made Roberts feel both seen and unseen. "General Morrison asked me to come," he said in a voice as worn and gravelly as his skin. "Name's Eli Hargrove." Kyle Kramer, ever the skeptic, overheard this and sauntered over, hands wiping grease on a well-used rag. "Hargrove, you're the retiree the general called in? We've got top-rated avionics experts here, certified mechanics, even a direct line to the manufacturer's think tank. What exactly do you reckon you can do?" Eli's gaze drifted back to the helicopter. "Just gonna have a look for now." Kramer snorted, tossing his rag aside. "Look, we've been staring at this thing for hours. According to our multimeters and computers, everything checks out. Fuel, ignition, sensors, all green. This heap of metal just decided to quit on life." Some of the younger technicians chuckled, the disdainful air thick around them. It seemed laughable, and this man, a piece of living history, trying to solve what modern technology declared an unsolvable riddle. For them, this wasn't a day for ghostly whispers and old stories. It was for cutting-edge precision and sleek engineering marvels. Lieutenant Roberts mirrored Kramer's impatience with folded arms. "Mr. Hargrove, as I said, we have everything under control. My team is trained on sophisticated systems and digital cockpits," Eli replied, his tone remaining even. "But this bird? She's different. She's got a soul, and right now, she's silent." To this, Kramer erupted in laughter, echoed by the crew. "A soul? Need an exorcist, not a technical readout." But Eli remained unmoved, beginning a slow, attentive circuit around the Huey. He touched nothing, simply observed, eyes scanning over its lines and curves with an unspoken attentiveness. Roberts glanced at Kramer over a confidential file on his tablet, reading aloud with disbelief. "Says here he was a crew chief, Vietnam era, as if we're dealing with some ancient relic and its keeper today." Kramer concurred, shaking his head. "Sure, means he patched war-torn machines. But this is a modern military base, not some make-do jungle." Eli halted by an engine panel, squinting inquisitively at a nearly concealed plate beneath the main exhaust. His expression became quizzical. "Is that panel flush?" he asked. With a roll of his eyes, Kramer approached, examining the metal beneath his hand. "Yeah, torqued to factory specs. I personally checked. No faults, ready to dismiss electronic suggestions." The old man merely replied, "Your system doesn't understand what this bird has lived through, but I do." Eli's hand reached inside a pocket, emerging with a well-used leather pouch. Its exterior appeared as weathered as its owner, its contents a mystery to all but him. Kramer sneered, looking at the worn pouch. "What do you have in there, old-timer? A magic trick?" Eli didn't respond, his focus on the small leather pouch as memories flooded back. Suddenly, the hot, bustling tarmac vanished. In its place was a jungle, suffocatingly thick, filled with the harsh scent of rot and cordite. The rhythmic thrumming of rotor blades echoed in his ears, taking him back to when he was a young man, knuckles raw and sweating fiercely. It was a time when tracer bullets streaked like grim arrows through the thick jungle canopy. Inside a similar Huey's trembling hull, a pilot's frantic voice crackled over the radio, while his co-pilot slumped lifelessly over the controls. Fellow soldiers clung to hope. A bullet had torn through the engine side, and the bird was losing fight against gravity. Eli, then just a spry 20, braved the wind, gambling with fate from the helicopter's skid. In that tense moment, he had reached into the very pouch now in his hands. Back then, it held a roll of sealing tape and a uniquely crafted wrench. A pilot, whose life Eli once saved, had gifted it to him, proclaiming Eli's extraordinary ability to breathe life into dead machines. Despite the chaos, his hands worked with unyielding certainty. Snapped back to reality, Eli focused on Kramer and Roberts. They only saw an elderly man with an antiquated toolkit. Eli saw shades of the men he helped survive the unspeakable. On this sweltering day, time was their enemy. A demonstration flight was long overdue, dignitaries ready for a show across the base. The waiting had turned from mere inconvenience to an impending debacle. Lieutenant Roberts' radio crackled to life, a reminder of authority at play. It was Colonel Dixon on the other end, his voice taut with frustration. "Roberts, status check." The lieutenant struggled for composure. "No change yet, sir. Currently troubleshooting a no-start situation. Level 3 diagnostics ongoing." "And this civilian?" the colonel queried, the skepticism evident. "The one General Morrison insisted upon having there?" Roberts hesitated, glancing at Eli, who remained an observer, though his understanding and presence felt substantial. "He's here observing as instructed, sir." There was a notable pause. Roberts braced for the not-so-subtle rebuke that never came. "Relay to the general directly," the colonel's steeled words cutting through. As the order registered, Roberts approached an airman named Jackson. He'd subtly followed the unfolding scene with curiosity rather than derision. With a nod, the phone was handed to Eli. It was a routine handoff with extraordinary undercurrents. Yet, young Airman Jackson, feeling a tug at his conscience, took an unanticipated step. Away from prying eyes, he used his personal phone to contact Major Ingram, the general's aide. An unorthodox move, yes, and one certainly against protocol, yet his instincts urged him on. "Major Ingram," came the hurried answer. Jackson lowered his voice, still unseen, feeling that rightness in action. "Airman Jackson, sir. Flight line Fort Holton. An urgent message concerning Mr. Hargrove." "Spit it out." The major's tone immediately sharpened. "Has something happened to him?" "Not exactly, sir. The technicians do not respect him. Doubts from the lieutenant and chief tech persist. They rely on diagnostics alone. This man, Hargrove, he deserves more. Feels like he sees what they can't." Silence. An unsettling wait before movements on the line quickened. Jackson expected reprimand, but none came. Instead, there was determination. A chair scraped harshly, the major's voice pitched to someone beyond the receiver. "General Morrison, you need to address this immediately." Amidst a command center far away, General Morrison, 3 stars shining, ruling presence undisturbed, took the phone. As the airman relayed the pressing situation, the general's calm evolved into a definitive edge. "Major," he instructed in dulcet tones that could split mountains, "connect me with Colonel Dixon and the Fort Holton control tower simultaneously." Turning to desert mumbles in the room, he called for urgency. "Prep transportation. We make for the base shortly." He quieted the line, addressing every uniformed figure present. "For the uninformed," he stated with pointed calm, "the gentleman being dismissed up there is Eli Hargrove. Back in '68, in the treacherous Asha Valley, he maintained 60% of our air support, using resourcefulness alone. Crew chief didn't capture it. He was known as the Ghost, reviving grounded ships like legends told. Understand, the Patriot Bell isn't mere aviation. It's history. Hargrove made it soar when others said it couldn't. On the base's heated tarmac, the atmosphere thickened as Eli Hargrove ended the call with General Morrison, a short exchange of low tones and mutual respect that no one else could discern. Returning the phone with a quiet nod to Airman Jackson, he turned his focus back to the Huey. Kramer, emboldened by the lack of immediate intervention, stepped in Eli's path. "Great call with your old friends, huh? Time to clear out. The colonel wants it stashed in the hangar." Eli met his gaze calmly. "Give me a moment to pop that panel, and I'll show you." Lieutenant Roberts had reached his boiling point. Challenged by an anachronism before his entire unit, he saw his career flashing before his eyes. Dueling with an elder in defunct machinery was not in his plans. He made a poor choice, a fateful one. "This nonsense ends now," Roberts declared with a booming assertion. "Mr. Hargrove, you're trespassing on a secure military operation post. This is your final warning. Either leave now or face confinement." Eli remained unflinching, their eyes locked in an unspoken challenge. "Try it, and you'll be escorted to the guardhouse. I mean it, old man." With that, Roberts laid a firm hand on Eli's shoulder, intending to forcibly eject him from the premises. But the real disruption came not from their confrontation, but from the squeal of approaching tires. A convoy of 3 sleek black command vehicles screeched to an abrupt halt nearby. Even before they fully stopped, their doors exploded open. From the lead vehicle emerged General Morrison himself, carrying an aura of fiery stoicism. Behind him was Colonel Dixon, his features edged with apprehension. Kramer and the others froze mid-motion, struck silent by the surprise arrival. Roberts withdrew his hand from Eli as if it suddenly smoldered. His stomach churned as icy terror swept through him. General Morrison advanced with authority born of gravitas and precision, dismissing everyone else like scenery. At an arm's length from Eli, he halted. There in the late-day heat, Morrison, a formidable leader of significant stature, snapped into a salute, so crisp and respectful it radiated across the tarmac. "Mr. Hargrove," he addressed, his voice resonating, "your presence is an honor. Apologies for any discourtesy received." Eli acknowledged with a nod, a weary flicker dimming his serene blue eyes, as though unsurprised by this deferential reception. Lowering his salute yet holding a position of respect, Morrison turned to face the assembled technicians, his gaze piercing through any complacency, settling upon Roberts and Kramer with a weight that pressed palpable. "I must express this unequivocally," Morrison began, his tone softening to a lethal calm that carried until the outer edges of the maintenance crews. "This gentleman you've treated with disdain is Eli the Ghost Hargrove, an icon in aviation history. He holds some of our rarest medals for valor, more combat hours than any pilot here can claim. That fine helicopter, Freedom's Bell, isn't mere equipment, it's a revered monument." A ripple of shock passed through the crowd as eyes widened in astonished realization. Those who had mocked him moments before now saw Eli as more than just a veteran. He was a legend. Awkward discomfort weighed heavy on them. Neither Robert nor Kramer could meet anyone's gaze. Their earlier surety crumbled. They confronted a humbling truth. Not only was Eli a distinguished figure, but the helicopter itself bore part of his legacy. His modifications untaught by training manuals, invisible to technical diagnostics. Morrison's voice dropped to a hushed whisper, more intimidating than any bellow. "You've failed your duty, neglected something invaluable offered freely. You endangered our operation by dismissing a treasure trove of experience. You put unauthorized hands upon him," he accused with quiet thunder. "General," came the meek interjection. Eli, having stepped forward, offered an arm steady as time-worn timber on Morrison's. They're young, shaped by their era's practices. They trust their screens. The fault isn't theirs. She's just craving a gentle, familiar hand. Such graciousness cut deeper than reprimand, offering wisdom and mercy where none was expected. In that moment, Eli transcended heroism to stand as a bridge between worlds. Morrison released a breath, acknowledging Eli's intercession. Then, almost imperceptibly, he nodded assent and stepped aside. "She's all yours, Ghost." With deliberate steps, Eli approached the Huey, unfastening the leather pouch's closure. Out came an unusual wrench with curves reminiscent of forgotten artistry, forged from darkened, unknown metal. Gripping it, past and present merged, transporting him back to a humid makeshift workshop, where once he'd precisely fashioned this piece of steel for an emergency best resolved through practical intuition. In the present, Eli reached for the small, dismissed panel that guided so much power. Undoing it with the deftness of mastery, he revealed and adjusted a manual lever unmatched in any handbook. A fuel injector bypass. With rhythmic certainty, the bolts returned home. Stepping back, he faced the gathering and addressed them with quiet trust. "Now, who'll give her another try?" Kramer, now caught between skepticism and reluctant hope, moved forward to take the challenge. With nervous fingers, he climbed into the cockpit and began the startup sequence, his hands shaking slightly as they readied the controls. There was a shared, silent anticipation among everyone gathered. Skepticism and belief tangled in the air, thick enough to taste. As Kramer flipped the ignition, the Huey hesitated at first, apprehensive in its old age. Then a cough was followed by a sputter, and things seemed to stutter into alignment. Suddenly, the engine roared to life, powerful and resonant, its sound thrillingly potent. The rotor blades, so droopy before, now stirred with renewed energy, gaining momentum until they spun into a strikingly familiar and unmistakable rhythmic whump, whump, whump. This sound, both nostalgic and reassuring, shattered any remaining visions of doubt. A spontaneous cheer erupted from those gathered around, the reaction explosive and genuine. Airman Jackson's eyes brimmed with emotion, the realization of what they'd witnessed hitting them with force. The once dismissive technicians erupted in applause, their earlier arrogance dissolved into pure respect and awe. They were all captivated by the raw display of resurrection, watching freedom's bell awaken under Eli's expert touch. Eli stood apart from the joyous chaos, a gentle, melancholy smile gracing his features. Watching the helicopter come to life under his care was both triumphant and bittersweet. It was a moment rich with pride, shadowed by the impermanence of life and machines. In the days that followed, repercussions of the day's events rippled quietly but deeply through military channels. General Morrison, choosing a more reflective approach over discipline, initiated a wide-reaching training initiative for all maintenance staff under his command, the Heritage Program. Its purpose was to preserve the stories and skills connected to iconic machinery, passed through the spoken lore of individuals like Eli. The inaugural course featured the UH-1 Huey's legacy, centering around Eli's extraordinary narrative. A grainy photograph of him, young and resolute, was its emblem, a testament to the courage and knowledge that some still held dear. In due time, Kyle Kramer and Lieutenant Roberts, both chastened by their earlier conduct, sought out Eli. They found him at a small diner on a quiet road not far from the base. A solitary booth by the window housed Eli, nurturing a steaming cup of coffee, the very picture of peaceful solitude. Pausing at the entrance, nervousness woven into their steps, they approached with hats clenched in their hands. "Mr. Hargrove," Roberts mumbled, the once solid confidence in his voice replaced by tentative humility. Eli glanced up, meeting their eyes with gentle acknowledgement. "Lieutenant Mr. Kramer," he greeted, his voice devoid of judgment. We've come to apologize," Kramer began, sincerity laced with emotion. "How we acted. It was wrong, immensely disrespectful. For the way we treated you, we're truly sorry." Eli's eyes softened as he observed the noticeable remorse in their expressions. He gestured at the empty seats opposite him, extending warmth in his invitation. "Join me," he offered quietly. "Let's have some coffee, and if time is on your side, perhaps I could share a tale or two about the old bird." The two men accepted, sliding wearily into the booth. As sunlight streamed softly through the diner windows, painting tranquil patterns upon the worn tabletop, Eli's voice began to unfold stories of heritage and spirit, weaving a bridge across the gap of years. connecting hearts to history. Listeners, erstwhile skeptics now steeped in reverence, leaned closer, captivated. With each word shared, Eli built a bridge from youthful ignorance to seasoned wisdom, each tale a testament to courage, resourcefulness, and the quiet valor embodied by the forgotten few. This powerful sharing of experience underscored a poignant truth. Technology and progress might be relentless, but the stories that ground us in human connection have a resonance that transcends time, worth more than any machine. Through moments of still silence and grand declaration, Eli's stories informed and educated, but they also offered healing promises. Such soothing balm found not through judgment or reprimand, but through understanding and grace. They wrapped their coffee meeting with a newfound respect, restoring not just broken faith and dignity, but also breathing life into shared human experience, moving forward more enlightened and united than they had been before. Thus, a quiet testament to the day emerged, not one typed into manuals, but etched into the fabric of those who lived through it. A reminder of the profound impact of humility, believing in timeless skill, and venerating those who walked the harder paths before us. If this story stirred something within you, remember its lessons and share them. Like the video, spread it with friends, and don't forget to subscribe to Brave Wings, because stories like Eli's deserve to be remembered, celebrated, ensuring their echoes continue to honor the heroes who molded history with their hands and hearts. As Eli's stories flowed gently over the diners, the atmosphere was infused with a mix of admiration and introspective quiet. The small diner, once just another pit stop on a quiet road, had become a site of revelation and reconciliation, where old divides melted away like sugar stirring into warm, rich coffee. Kramer and Lieutenant Roberts listened intently, their previous arrogance replaced by the realization of how little they had known of the true legacies carried within the older hands and hearts. Every word Eli spoke was a brushstroke, painting a vivid picture of the harsh jungles of Vietnam, humming with danger and the relentless whump-whump of rotor blades above. Those scenes, teeming with vivid sights and sounds, took on new meaning. They were no longer just historical accounts found in textbooks, but life lived, raw and immediate. Each narrative thread pulled them deeper into understanding the incarnations of camaraderie, bravery, and sometimes unspeakable sacrifice that Eli had known so well. The conversation shifted towards stories no manual could record. The swift repair on a smoking chopper under fire, the ingenuity of makeshift tools crafted in desperate moments, and the silent pact of soldiers safeguarding each other's lives amid chaos. Eli's calm recounting turned these tales into parables of perseverance, resourcefulness, and the enduring strength of human spirit. In the dim light and fading afternoon, Eli's voice was steady, a gentle reminder of what it meant to be part of something greater than oneself. His insights were imbued with humor, wisdom, and an understanding of the passage of time one only gains through years lived fully and reflectively. You see, Eli mused, clasping his hands around his warm coffee cup, machines don't just run on fuel or electricity. They're powered too by the experiences, the hands that have fixed them, the minds that have managed to coax one more spark, one more revolution from an engine against all odds. This revelation lingered in the air, a silent call to honor the layers of the history embedded in the mundane steel skin of each aircraft. The young officers felt the burden of their realization and the privilege of tuning into this rarely whispered wisdom. And they understood just how privileged they were to hear it directly from one who had lived it. As the afternoon dragged towards evening, the conversation drifted to everyday topics. Thoughts of aircraft were momentarily set aside as they discussed everything from family to favorite pastimes. As Eli spoke of his life beyond the military, the stories of his modest beginnings and unassuming personal achievements lent them a fuller picture of a life well lived, grounded in its own simple joys and hard-won truths. Eli described his farm, the satisfying toil of tending to crops and livestock, finding peace in the rhythmic simplicity of the seasons. Roberts and Kramer were drawn into these tales too. finding in them reflections of their own hopes and dreams outside the military, realizing they sought the same abiding satisfaction in humble, honest work. Though time seemed to have flowed swiftly, the afternoon transformed into the soft hues of early dusk. It was a perfect encapsulation of intent listening and shared respect. They knew they had sat with a man they would remember for the rest of their lives. A nameless ghost without whom countless lives would have been lost to time's relentless tide. As they finally prepared to part, there was a sense of newfound fellowship, a quiet pact among differing generations to bridge the gap with understanding and respect. Simple words became a bond stronger than steel, a testament to lessons learned across time and experience. "Thank you, Eli," Kramer said softly, genuine respect coating each word. "For everything, for showing us how to really see." Eli nodded, his old eyes glistening with unspent stories and unspoken wishes. "Anytime, boys. Always here. Should you need." With shared nods, the young officers left, hearts lighter and minds sharper, with renewed clarity of purpose. As they slipped from the booth and exited the diner, the last light of day casting long shadows, Eli returned to his coffee, an emblem of experiences past and future. The diner witnessed more than talks about tales of old, but the rekindling of reverence and the spark of future promise. The story had come full circle, from machines and manuals to men and memories. It taught that technology might propel us, but it is the shared stories and accumulated wisdom that will guide us safely home.